We've been working on expanding our global footprint over the last 2.5 years, having strategically analyzed the benefits of doing so. We have pulled the trigger on Brazil and the UK. What I wanted to emphasize is that these decisions do not detract from the African operations. These global projects have their own dedicated resources and teams, while Africa is led by Sandra and all of the various departments as you know them. As I said last year, we continue to see legislative and feature requirements in other jurisdictions, which requires to build tool sets. So this is not specific localized code. It is a tool set that facilitates the ability to configure the localized requirement. Those tool sets then allow us to deliver features in Africa or enhance functionality or result in more efficient ways in doing things while also positioning us for changes we have seen coming in this part of the world. With this context and to unpack some of these concepts, I'd like to welcome George, a fellow founder, Greek god, descendant of Alexander the Great, from who he learned to conquer things, in this case, the payroll world. And it so happens that today is also George's birthday, so happy born day there, dog. Good afternoon and welcome.
I was hoping you weren't going to do that, Bruce, but thanks for that charismatic introduction. So yeah, I think first I'd like to just welcome all the delegates as well. Maybe just thank you all for attending and just allowing us the privilege of your time in sharing what we're busy with. So apart from being the Greek god, just a bit about me. So I am the brother from another mother. Been involved with all the facets of the business from inception. From compliance to implementations to outsource, and currently I'm involved in the global expansion strategy, the rollout of that strategy, monitoring trends around the globe and identifying like geographies that we've got our pulse on. So I'm extremely excited to be involved with so many dynamic people in the PaySpace family, and just breaking the boundaries in terms of realizing the dream of our multi-country aspirations. So thanks for the opportunity.
Lekker, George. So let's get going on here. I mean, take us through what are some of the common trends that you guys in this area are seeing with regards to payroll in the global arena?
So yeah, I think in the spirit of the Power Conference, many of the trends that we're seeing are, and they're also conceptualizing and driving global toolset delivery, are actually beyond payroll in nature. So the trend sources are, we look at independent research. We've got some thought leaders that we tap into from a global perspective.
And George, it's also, can you just give us, I think I had a slide when we were doing that previous one. If you can just share that with us, please.
Sorry, is my share dropped?
We have gone load shedding stage 4, I believe. Let's see if this is the gremlin that's haunted Ryan.
Sorry, let's have a look here. Right, let's try that again. Is that?
There we go. Thanks, George. That's perfect.
Have you got that? Yep. Fantastic. Right. So as I was saying, just around the sources that we get our information from, it's I think largely due to our physical experience in expanding to, all these new countries. So apart from the obvious usual suspects, which is bullet 1 and 2 there. So the ever increasing shift to the cloud, which has definitely been accentuated in this post-COVID hybrid working world where there's a massive need for richness in the ESS, as well as multinationals wanting to standardize their solutions across regions as opposed to having separate solutions disparate in each country. So apart from those, the prominent trends that you see from point 3 downwards are definitely they all center around this notion of hyper automation, which definitely follows on from this beyond payroll theme that we're busy with versus your sort of traditional payroll administration. So I mean, talking talking around integration, exactly around what Warren was saying early. This all begins with effective integration, which is a prerequisite to most of these trends that we're seeing. So just having the versatility of an API-driven integration that promotes all these automated payroll workflow possibilities and just unifying, the whole ecosystem of products. And in terms of on the integration side, I mean, we're talking about statutory integration in the form of filing, finance, time, HR, and other third-party type scenarios like insurance houses, wellness providers, benefit providers, etc. So that's on the integration side. Looking at the next bullet there, the continuous payroll processing. So that's literally your real-time calculation paradigm where, simply put, it's just about having immediate payroll results that can be exposed to all the various stakeholders for live decision making, which really forms the prerequisite into the next item, which is what Warren covered around the EWA or earned wage access. So there's definitely a shift in employees expecting to be paid in real time, on demand, rather than traditionally getting paid sort of once a month or periodically. So it's taken the US by storm. We see a huge need in Europe as per the expansion to the UK. And now it's also becoming very strong in demand in South Africa and Africa. So it's quite interesting in terms of global payroll providers catering for EWA, because the backdrop of catering for it means that they require real-time engines or live payslips, which has always been a part of the PaySpace architecture since inception. And it's actually a concept that legacy providers, cannot meet without re-architecture. So it just makes complete sense in terms of us always having this live payslip in ESS just to, offer flexible payment options there. And then the next item there, the rise in different pay methods. What we're seeing is the beginning of a shift towards other options when it comes to pay methods like digital wallets, crypto. The next item, reporting and analytics, have never been as important in terms of delivering much deeper insights. And then the whole AI chatbots RPA space, which is quite basically used in different facets of automating any manual payroll processes. So typically an example of what is being spoken about is the quickest way of getting all the payroll data bulked into the payroll, validated, checked, and paid, in terms of as little human interaction when it comes to streamlining through RPAs. And it's also been used to enhance BSS experiences as well. So those are some of the actual trends we're seeing there.
Okay, so that's some seriously hardcore stuff and a lot of moving parts there, George. So, I mean, if we're looking at those trends and how this global expansion is added to the product, can you give us an idea on which global tools we specifically focused on related to statutory filing requirements?
Yeah, so as mentioned before, integration, Pinnacle, many automated possibilities. But if we just focus on the extension that redefines statutory integration, so in terms of the what we've built for that was largely motivated by a very complex requirement that we saw in Brazil, which is called e-social. And very simply put, what e-social is the sending and receiving of data to and from statutory authorities. And that happens either in real time or it happens periodically, right throughout the payroll cycle. And it's characterized around different payroll events. There's over 44 payroll events with a possible 1,600 fields that flow up and down. And just as an example, there's approvals required in real time when employees are onboarded, when they're terminated, when they apply for leave. So over and above that as well, there's actually a need to provide feedback from authorities. So in the form of, reconciled outputs that the authorities have calculated that you can reconcile back to the payroll. So we largely looked at lessening the dependency of development when we were confronted with these requirements. So to firstly, maybe allow compliance to configure and map the PaySpace fields. And secondly, to create some kind of intuitive dashboard or cockpit that where our customers could literally control and monitor the transmission to and from the authorities. So that's exactly what we did. If you look on screen there, we created our integration teams created the statutory integration mapper. And in basic terms, what it allows for is the upload of any CSV format or XSD file that's available from different authorities. And what this does is it pre-populates a layout that's version driven. So you can have, it's completely date tracked. So you could file a different version of the requirement throughout history. And then quite literally the compliance team can then map PaySpace fields from what's been pre-configured in terms of statutory layouts back to what's available as well. And what they can do furthermore is convert and to a different target format. They can attach complex conditions. They can validate fields based on other fields. They can create error messages. They can test all these validations. So it really allows for a much quicker turnaround to customers. And it opens the door in allowing customers to directly do anything similar in the future. So we've planted the seed of maybe exposing this tool set to customers somewhere along the line. So all of this comes together in an actual integration dashboard that's used to monitor and schedule and analyze and look at the submissions between the authorities as well. And the second phase of this is using the exact same architecture to transmit feedback back from the authorities. So in summary, the agility, we brought sort of agility and we fast-tracked the creation and maintenance of any statutory filing requirement going forward. And we've literally replaced development with configuration. We can also use this in future for very complex third-party integrations outside of the sphere of statutory submission as well, as long as we can consume these files. So yeah, that puts that into perspective.
Okay, that's hardcore stuff there, George. So apart from catering for Brazil, in which other geographies can this integration mapper be used?
So we definitely seeing a lot of real-time API integration with statutory authorities, whether they are through API or just electronic static upload to authority portals. We're seeing this in most countries. And bringing it closer to home, the SARS Vision 2024 initiative, that's where SARS has the objective to collect taxes from individuals on a real-time monthly basis. It involves relooking and revisiting their current easy file process into proposals that are there now to modernize that and to provide a filing premise on a monthly basis. So this will gradually actually relieve most employees from having to submit a tax return. Then going further north into Africa, there's examples in Nigeria who are transitioning to an electronic e-tax system. In Tanzania, the WCF and NSSF submissions are now electronic. There's examples in Malawi, in Togo, Burkina Faso's CNSS electronic declaration, and Ghana's DT107A. And then into Europe, specifically in the UK, they've got this RTI or real-time information requirement that transmit to their authority, which is the HMRC. And those requirements are literally around submitting APIs in terms of payment summaries and financial data on a monthly basis. There's requirements there to auto-enroll people onto pension schemes, to auto-validate national security numbers with the authorities, and then also to receive, we see that same feedback loop that they actually receive data back from the authorities in the form of a tax mandate or a tax override. So yeah, those are the different areas we've been exposed to there.
Okay, so then having focused specifically on this integration topic, which other features that originated through our direct findings with global requirements will also benefit all other countries on our current or future footprint?
So yeah, we could definitely mention many features that have either originated or have been motivated or been fast-tracked by our global initiatives, one of which is the reporting tools that was showcased by Clyde and Vicky as well. Definitely motivated by Brazilian requirements, which there's a huge need for process type reports. There's over 75 process reports that are required there. So in terms of fast tracking Dev Express and Power BI, there was definitely motivation there. That second module that you see there is our table builder module, which is a module that assists our internal teams in creating extremely complex table-based custom payroll calculations without the need for development. So that would typically be in situations that we've seen internationally where we've seen collective agreement automation on steroids, where unions, they drive most payroll processes. Other examples are in extending our funds modules. So besides having your pension, provident, group life, disability, etc., we can extend that. So we've seen examples in very complex transportation schemes, for instance. And Table Builder is also plugging huge gaps in the SA enterprise space as well. So apart from that, your RPA processes, as Warren showcased as well, and he showed during the onboarding module or the pre-employment notification example, the ability for PaySpace to integrate to these RPA engines like Power Automate or Microsoft Power Apps, it really puts us into this definition of going beyond payroll. And some examples that we've seen are similar to the ones Warren has showcased, where literally employee processes trigger through a webhook an RPA process that creates termination report packs which are appended to the employee's profile. We've seen other scenarios around termination where there's a need to log into statutory websites, obtain social security balances, and workflow these back to the employee. So yeah, this is just the beginning of where we could take automation, as Warren also stated. And we can provide opportunities to standardize and integrate payroll processing and reduce human risk. And then in terms of the custom forms and fields that Clyde showcased, I think within a global context, the ability to create these custom forms is hugely beneficial. We see this, even in requirements with different industry, let alone different country as well. So apart from the flexibility to create multi-language functionality, there's also the ability to localize some of our core fields and hide and show based on different countries. And even change field labels, like for example, postal code is relevant in SA, whereas zip code is relevant somewhere else. So the appending of custom fields onto core screens and the history thereof, and then all of this is layered, from a global context by being able to hide and show only what is necessary through an initial selection of fields. So yeah, I think that kind of puts it all together there. And these are the tools that we've been able to fast track due to sort of the global expansion effort, and that will benefit all other countries as well.